Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, I'm back here at Giga-Texas after a wonderful time out at Florida. Now you may remember I was out at the Tesla Florida Owners Club's Tesla Space Jam. It was held at Kennedy Space Center and it was a really nice event, great people to talk with, and I did get a chance to do a discussion about on-orbit refilling operations and just the importance of that as we continue to move into more of the space economy outside of low Earth orbit, and all of the opportunities and developments that are going on with commercial space and also with NASA as they continue to look at reprioritizing their mission set for the future. Now, I did get a chance to tour the Kennedy Space Center Museum, and if you haven't been there, there are a lot of great things to see, amazing exhibits, and be able to watch the history of our space program from the very beginnings all the way to present day. So I definitely recommend that you go out to the Kennedy Space Center Museum and take a look if you're a space fan, and even if you're not, then you can get a chance to learn a little bit more about our space program. While I was there, I also got a chance to check out some of the preparations for the Starship operations out there over at Roberts Road, where they're building the new Star Factory and Gigabay. Also on NASA Parkway, where they are widening the road next to where the crawler transport brings the SLS vehicles from the Vehicle Assembly Building out to Launch Pad 39B, and then of course over at Launch Site 39A, where they're building the tower for Starbase. They're also building a flame trench to support the operations and doing a lot of other work while they are also launching Falcon 9s from that site. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that tomorrow with Ellie in Space, but I just wanted to give you some of these images and just kind of a recap of what I was able to do over in Florida. But now I'm back here at Giga-Texas. I wanted to fly around, kind of get a sense for what has been going on for the week or so that I have been out of town. And there is a lot of activity going on throughout the site. It is also very windy today, so I had to kind of adjust my flight a little to compensate for that. But otherwise, I got a full flight in, a lot to see, a lot to discuss within the video. So without further ado, let's get the drone in the air. Let's fight these windy conditions and see what's going on with Giga-Texas today.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. We are here at Giga-Texas again. It's been about a week since I last flew, so I'm going to start off at a higher altitude here on the east side and just sort of pan around. We can tell that a lot of construction on that north side next to the die shop, and we'll get a closer view of that later in the video. Also work on the Megapacks. 2 new trailers on that east parking lot on the right-hand side of the screen. And as we continue to pan along and take a look at the main factory, we can tell with the flags that it is quite windy today, and the drone had to work its way through a lot of that, but we were able to see a lot of activity. And as you can tell, the skies are pretty clear, a little bit of clouds, but otherwise not bad. Now, as we fly over this material staging yard, we see more containers that have been delivered and some more equipment. So that is something to keep a track of. And then as we go across this old testing and calibration lot, we see Cybertrucks being tested, maybe with some of the hoods open next to those superchargers, and of course those 2 covered superchargers where they're continuing to do testing, possibly with the inductive charging. I did notice that this secondary main entrance, the doors have been either removed or they put plywood and they have like a plastic curtain on the back, so maybe they're doing some more reconfiguration work in that section. Also, more of the work on that platform to take some of the steel and other materials for construction up into that second floor above Body in White as they continue to build out more of the production capacity. Now, as I turn back towards the multi-level parking garage, we can tell that there is no real activity on the roof today, or at least not at the time that I was flying. The privacy curtains on the 6th floor and on the ground floor on that east side still remain. Now, in that roadway where River Road is located, you see the traffic, still some materials for the WW Glass Company, which is installing glass, and we will see some progress with glass on the west side of the south extension here momentarily. Here's a nice view of some deliveries to that temporary platform, and also just what the east side of the stamping machine structure area looks like. Now, near the chiller plant, the work on that ground continues, grading it out, and probably going to see concrete there at some point, but it looks like there's still a little bit of work to be done. It does also look like there's water that is kind of flowing out from that ground floor, and then as I zoom in over the fans, can tell the work on this temporary platform, and perhaps they're getting ready to put some equipment up through that open section at the near future. So that'll be something I continue to watch. And as I pull away, this is a nice overall view of the factory today and how this south end appears. A lot of the green because we are in spring. They've been getting some rain, and it's kind of nice to see all that color here on the south end of the factory. Now I'm going to fly up over the roof. We'll take a look at some of the solar panels that are being installed, and then we'll come back at a lower altitude, the south end, in a moment. As we fly over the south extension, come up over to this section next to the A, the bottom of the A with all those solar panels. You can tell that they've added this line, but they haven't really made a lot of progress in the last couple of days. So that's what it looks like now. And then here it looks like perhaps more solar panels have been delivered on these packages, and they're just waiting for their turn to be installed along the base of all of the Tesla letters that are outlined with the solar panels. So here on the west side, I'll maneuver the drone around. We can see that red and that white Model Y self-driving over to the outbound lot. So that is continuing here this morning. And we also see Cybertrucks being stored in this temporary lot next to that trailer on the bottom right of the screen. I did notice a large delivery has been lifted up by the crane onto the loading platform. It's a very large pipe with some kind of connections off the top, and this is what it looks like here today. This is similar to what we saw installed just to the south here in that extension for the cooling system for Cortex, but I'm not sure exactly what that is, and you can tell it's being moved inside. Now the glass has been installed, at least most of it, here on this kind of transition from the old window line on the left to the new window line on the right, and this is what it appears like today. And the drive path here has those walls painted black, so it kind of blends in with that overall window line, and it kind of eases that transition between the new and the old parts of the building. As I continue to maneuver the drone here at this altitude, we'll fly along this west side over to the southwest corner, and a couple of things I want to point out. One, notice that all the equipment has been removed around here, and it's all very clear next to the glass, so that is different. Also, at this entrance, they are starting to frame it in, and we should start seeing some more glass and perhaps some sort of a entry treatment here very soon. We do see some mounts on the top kind of beam, and so that kind of suggests that we're going to see glass all the way across, but that'll be something to watch for. And then once that is done, our views inside this part of the factory will be kind of closed off, at least during the day. At night, we might be able to see in with the lighting. Now here at a lower altitude, I'm flying over the south part where the tunnels are and the grass. A lot of the landscaping piping for the irrigation system has been installed, and this is what it looks like today. Next to River Road, where you can see all the dirt, all of the conduit has been installed, the concrete poured, and they've filled in this conduit trenching all along this section. You see those purple pipes, those are for irrigation system, and you can also see where this is at least terminated for now, right next to that fork in the road. And as we fly over the road, this is a look at the smaller caisson, also the trench box in blue on the left, and the work that's going on here on the right. I believe it's all related to the trench work and installation of some pipe that we will see along the entire west berm a little later in the video. But this is where it kind of goes underneath the road here through horizontal drilling, and then it comes up through this particular pit next to these temporary fences. You can see the pipe here. The trench box has been removed, so maybe we'll be seeing them continuing to trench to the south, and then we'll do some connections here. But that's generally what it looks like here on the south end. We get over to the larger caisson with all of the concrete pipe segments on the surface level. We'll peer down into the bottom of the pit. We can see another one of those segments has been lined up. The pistons are starting to push that liner into the tunnel boring hole that goes to the south underneath the Colorado River and connects to another caisson. My next video, I'll take a look at that caisson to see if that tunnel boring machine has arrived there or not. But this is what that operation looks like. You can see the spoils bin in the bottom left of the screen, and that's where the materials are coming out of that tunnel boring machine as it is drilling its way underneath the Colorado River. And then a lot of that material will be brought up to the upper right of the screen in this large clearing, which we'll see here in a moment. But as I cross over the power lines, take a look at this staging yard, more of the gray and also sort of that brown steel items stored here. All of those transformers just waiting for their time to be installed, and I'm kind of still curious where that's going to be. See other steel materials in the upper right and concrete materials at the bottom left. This is that large clearing. The darker gray or black material is what's coming out of that tunnel boring machine, and it looks like they're doing some additional work getting some dirt on that upper left part of the site, and perhaps using it in other sections of this construction site for leveling up a grade. But that'll be something I'll try to watch, and we'll get closer views on the next video. This is a nice look at this particular material staging yard with the factory in the background and with the flags flying in that heavy wind that I had mentioned. Now on the ground here and amongst a lot of the materials and the workshops and some of the superchargers that we see in the bottom and the right hand side of the screen, we do see activity with the production equipment here. Most of this that we see in the wrapped material and the blue and kind of silver is moving into the 4680 cell portion of the factory. The interesting thing is that while I was flying about this point in time, Bonne Eggleston, who is the chief of 4680s, came up to me and we were talking about some of the products, production that they're doing there, the work that they're doing, his pride in his team, and just kind of just chit-chatting a little bit about Giga-Texas. And it was pretty cool that we were talking while I was flying the drone here. And I'll point him out a little later in the video where you see him standing talking to me. But as we fly back over this material staging yard, I wanted to give you a nice shot of the outbound lot. A lot of Model Ys, a good number of Cybertrucks also on this part of the site. And as we continue to maneuver towards the north, I noticed that there was a large grouping of long-range rear-wheel drive Cybertrucks here on this part of the outbound lot. So I'm going to bring the drone down in lower and we'll fly right across these. And many people ask, well, how do I know these are long-range rear-wheel drive? They don't have the tonneau cover. The bed of the truck liner does not have the cubby hole. The lighting is different. Also, just a few other detail items that show that all of these are long-range rear-wheel drive. And I know that some people have been skeptical about whether they're actually going to build these or not, but this shows you that there are quite a number of these, and production is definitely gearing up for this new variant of the Cybertruck. And as I turn back and start climbing in altitude, you'll see the other Cybertrucks with the hard tonneau cover. Those are either Cyberbeast or all-wheel drive. So this is a nice comparison between the two in this grouping of Cybertrucks. And I will continue to maneuver the drone around just to give you a good overall view here of the outbound lot and what it looks like from this vantage point. And of course, all of those long-range rear-wheel drive Cybertrucks in the bottom right. We also have a good number of the Model Ys on this north part of the outbound lot. And what I decided to do is kind of fly along here towards the south with the test track on the left where you see Model Ys being tested right now, and just show you what some of the operations look like here as they're preparing these vehicles for transport. As we pass the tents with all of the superchargers, I wanted to fly along this east side where we have these 4 lanes. All of these vehicles have driven themselves autonomously from the factory to this point, and that includes both the Cybertrucks and the Model Ys. And once they get to this point, then the employees come out and move them over for movement through the end-of-line facility. Now, I think this is a temporary process, and they'll continue to automate that as time goes on, but it does save a lot because the drivers or the people that work here at the end of the line don't have to drive all the way back across the road to this part of the factory anymore. It's a great view of the flags with the amount of wind, and I'll just continue to maneuver the drone down lower. We'll fly over the kind of landscaped section of the flags where we see that display case with the Model Y and what the main entrance looks like. At this instant in time, this exit point from the factory for the Model Ys was not showing a Model Y coming out, but because they're doing autonomous driving, they just sort of flow out and continue driving over to the west side. They don't group like they used to, so it's kind of harder to tell for sure what the pace is of that production now because of that autonomous driving. This new platform has been added in. You can tell that this is much more permanent with the footings and the mounts for the columns at the bottom. Also, they have a permanent door at that top part of the platform, so that's going to be here for quite some time. Now, I did mention that they were doing trenching along the west berm. This is some more work that is being done from the north headed to the south, and this is going to continue all the way down to that South Caisson area where I showed you the trench boxes and how it went underneath at River Road. But this is what the activity looks like here today. As we peer back down, you'll see that similar pipe with that kind of purple wrapping, and they're positioning that trench box to make sure that it is safe for the workers to be working on. Now, as I fly up along this berm, you're going to see both my car and myself, and you'll see a gentleman talking to me. That's Bonne Eggleston. He is the lead of the 4680s here at Giga-Texas and for Tesla. And it was just great to be able to chat with him while I was flying around the site today. So just thanks a lot for Bonnie for a great conversation. I really appreciate that. But as I continue to maneuver here, it's a nice view of the north end of Giga-Texas and what it looks like here on the north side. Not a lot of construction on the 4680 section with those two platforms that are coming up right ahead of us, but they do have that new kind of doorway with plastic wrap along that shorter of the platforms. And as I continue to maneuver the drone around here, one of the things that caught my eye, and you'll see the drone kind of move over to the left here momentarily, is the number of castings and rack mounts for the castings that are just accumulating here on the north side and also around the east side of the factory today. And this is what it looks like in this kind of material, or the casting, handling, and sorting lot. Many of the castings that you see here are for the Cybertrucks, and you can also see the markings on the ground where they're trimmed or untrimmed for the Cybertruck castings. And as I fly further to the northeast of the factory, we can see more of those rack mounts Also, in the middle top of the screen is the bumper stands for the paint shop for the new Model Y. And as we continue to pass the drone around here towards the northeast, just a number of castings here that are for the Cybertrucks. Some of them are the front. I think some of them may be for the rear as well. And there's some other materials, some gray steel that has been added here for potential more construction on the inside here. A large delivery taking place next to the melt plant. And as I continue to fly over all of these castings on the ground here in those rack mounts, which look to be a rear Cybertruck, there's a few other big details I want to show you here. First, on the ground, more materials have been delivered, some of which with that white and kind of gold brass kind of rings around them, or those rings. I think those are part of another gigapress that is being stored here temporarily. You can see those concrete blocks, some big deliveries and bags in the upper right, that red center post kind of a crane waiting for assembly. And then directly ahead as I zoom in, all of these castings are for the Cybercab. And there's 10 per each of the rack mounts. And if you look at the number here, it's several hundred of these have been made. And these appear to be different than the ones that I showed you when we last flew about a week or so ago. So production, at least through the castings of all of these Cybercab castings, is definitely coming along. And then next to that, a lot of those were the Model Y castings. So here's a good view of that center post crane with that red and that kind of wider base, the deliveries in those bags that you can see. And I also noticed that there was more assembly of the baghouse filtration plant with those large pipes. And at the top, we have this kind of a, I don't know, structure with the plastic around it, and the wind is definitely wreaking havoc with that plastic, but it's right around where that kind of chimney or flue is located. And also looking straight down the number of piping that has been installed. Some of it almost looks chrome, and just definitely getting close to being a completed and operational baghouse filtration plant. Now, while I am here, I will just maneuver over the power lines, and I'll try to bring the drone down a little bit. I'll also zoom it in so we can get some more detail of what's going on with the baghouse filtration plant and the kind of plastic wrapped rooms or sections on the ground, more of the castings, and the melt plant on the upper right. And this is a great view because I want to show you the comparison between the Cybercab castings on the right and the Model Y castings on the left. And as I zoom in, we'll get a nice comparison directly side by side. Model Y on the left, and on the right, the left two are the Model Ys, and on the right, the 4 or 5 lines are the Cybercab. So that is a pretty nice way to show you the differences, not only in how they look, but also the relative sizes. So I'm going to reposition over to the Megapack site. We'll take a look at the progress over there today. Looks like work is continuing to install those orange cables between the Megapacks and the transformers. I don't see any of the cables going on the cable trays in the middle yet, so that work is remaining. And then here we can see some of these spools with the cable getting ready for movement in and use for connecting even more of the Megapacks. Also, it looks like one of the covers is giving them a little bit of trouble. Of course, the wind, as I mentioned, is quite high today, and it may be affecting what they're trying to do with rolling that out. But as I pull away, this is a nice overall shot of the south end of the switch yard where that Megapack 2 is, and all of the earthwork that is being done to prepare for additional construction in this entire section. Directly below the drone is where I'm expecting, based on site permits and site plans, for that switchyard to be kind of mirrored and built directly ahead here on the ground, and doubling the overall capacity of the electrical switchyard. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to turn the drone back towards the east and give you this overall view of the construction site and just the large amount of land that is being developed. Now, right in the middle, we see that water detention pond, almost triangular in shape, and they've been continuing to do work on those berms to further define it. As we pass over this temporary road with those white dividers, we can get a nice sense of the amount of steel assembly that has been taking place on this central campus support facility, also known as the Cortex 2 location. They are also adding roof decking from the south towards the north, and there are some sections that have some openings, so that may either be access to the roof or maybe some vertical structure. So we'll have to see what that looks like as they continue to build out this site. A lot of materials still being pre-positioned around where the footings are, and they're building this from the right to the left as we are looking at the screen. More perimeter grade beam work underway. There are several breaks in that perimeter grade beam, which appears to be loading docks or at least access points into the building, and we'll watch that as it continues to develop. A nice view of some of the forms and rebar work on the bottom right. Here, basic rebar work going along the perimeter grade beam, and also some footing with those rebar cages, and they're preparing the column mounts. And then here is another corner of the perimeter grade beam and work around where they've already poured some of the concrete. I thought I would bring the drone up a little higher just to give you an overall perspective of the size of this building now that we can see the entire perimeter grade beam and what it is starting to shape up like. And this is about 3 times at least the size of the die shop, which is on just off the screen on the left. More of the steel rebar cages for the footings being assembled here off the site. And also we can see that some of the earthwork has been pushed up against the perimeter grade beam here on the bottom left of the screen, which is the lower of the 2 perimeter grade beams. So the building itself has shorter columns on the right-hand side of the screen than it does on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, as we fly up over the roof, we can see more of the roof decking has been pre-positioned onto the beams, and that'll be laid out similar to what we see the crews doing right now. And this also just further suggests to us that this is essentially, at least for now, a 1-story building, at least on the south end. Now, I did notice in this parking lot 2 very large trailers have been established here. And as we continue to maneuver around, we can get a kind of a idea of the name that is on here, Aries. This is one of the construction companies that have been here on site, that have done major construction at Giga-Texas. And it looks like they are setting up shop for perhaps the construction of this large building that we see directly ahead of us. Perhaps maybe for some other construction. So that'll be something I will continue to monitor, and it is an interesting development. That temporary warehouse on the left is now looking quite small compared to the steel structure that is being assembled, and this is a nice view of showing how close it is to the die shop and the battery cathode plant. As I continue to maneuver around here, just wanted to show you the work that has been done in that middle section. It is mostly complete with the underground stormwater management system. We do see some more of the material stored here on the south end of the cathode building, and we'll continue to watch and see where that ends up going. Now, as I started to round about this part of the battery cathode plant and looking at the crash test facility, the winds really started picking up, and I was getting a lot of wind warnings on my drone. So I thought I would just sort of stay up at a higher altitude, just give you some views here and not do anything really crazy with the drone, just to make sure that we could get it back safely. But while I'm doing that, we're flying over this material staging with more of the steel corrugated pipe. A nice look up where all the earthwork is being done here on this northeast side. More of the materials on the bottom of the screen. And a nice look back across the entire site with the battery cathode plant in the forefront or the middle of the screen, and the major structures with that factory in the upper part of the screen. And I'll bring the drone up a little bit higher altitude and just show you this very high bird's eye view of the new structure and what it looks like here today. So that's it for the view of Giga-Texas. Thank you very much for watching, and I very much appreciate your support. Take care.